everybody, welcome to Leon's Chainsaw Parts Repair, and welcome to episode 2 of Brett Donates a Saw to the channel. We've got our Power Max 6. So I've gotten things mostly cleaned up. We might clean it a little more when I get the flywheel apart and we get the oil tank apart, but that's, I think, what we're going to focus on this episode, is getting the oil system sealed up. Now, I don't know enough about these to know which piece it is that's leaking. I'm assuming it's going to be the main tank gasket. Okay. I'm assuming that. But it could be one of the other oil pump gaskets. I happen to have an abundance of all three on hand, so it's like, why the world wouldn't I just replace them? We're in here. This thing's primarily going to live in a collection. Let's just do it and do it right. So with that, let's get started. I've cleaned everything as best I can, but before we get going, I want to get these gaskets soaking with some of the gasket sealant that I like to use. Again, I don't know that this is needed, but it's more like an insurance policy, you know? It's like your car insurance, really. Most of the time you don't need it. But that one time that you do, aren't you glad you have it? Okay, that is probably well more than was needed, but I don't care. I cannot think of a scenario where you would regret pre-treating a gasket like that on one of these saws anyway. Obviously, if it's a cylinder gasket, no, but if something's exposed to fuel and oil, I can't see why it would be a bad thing. Not required, just can't see why it would be a bad thing. Alright, so I haven't been tightening that down very far, and that's been serving me quite well, because I don't have to do any theatrics to get it apart. Now, I hosed everything off, so we're going to have some water back here. I'm going to have to blow that points box out at some point. In fact, maybe I ought to just do that right now. Oh man, she don't want to move. There we go. You know, remarkably little water got in there, all things considered. But any water is too much water. Now with that off, you can more readily see those two areas. That's the manual oil pump, and that's the back of the automatic oil pump. Those are those other two gaskets, other than that big tank gasket, that we are going to go ahead and replace. Now, against my better judgment, I'm going to try and make this easy on us, which involves removing more parts, but potentially making it less of a hassle. Now, this has been apart before, and the reason I know that is those screwdriver marks right there. Obviously, my new 11/32 wrench is not here yet. I thought about going to O'Reilly's, but I didn't want, I can't remember the name of their tool brand. I wanted something that would match the other Craftsman that I've got in there. And I kind of forgot that I think Ace Hardware is a Craftsman dealer now. I've gotten a couple of those around. Oh well, no one said I was brilliant. Alright. I really cannot remember how this all goes together, folks. We are truly winging it right now. But I am assuming that this thing will have a relatively easy way to undo the throttle. And I'm assuming a manual oiler is what just pushed me up like that. So So I have no idea how much fun that's going to be to push back in. Alright, so there's throttle linkage. Okay. I can hose that out a little bit more. Alright, so there's that pad. There's that pad. Now, other than the kill switch, that plate is completely loose. And I am not taking... You've got a choice of taking the kill switch wire off or loosening it up and taking the wire off of the points box here. That's my choice. Even though I've had this apart more times than I ever care to count. If I remember, so that one is the top stack wire. Look at that, some more cleanup that I can do. This is actually good. I want this thing clean when I'm done. I want to get all this oil the hell out of here. Man, even when I thought I had it clean, it's not clean. But look at all the access we've got now. Not terrible. I never thought to look and see if this still had remnants of any oil in it. This is a cold day. Might be... oh yeah. It does. Alright. I'm going to drain this, do a little more cleanup, and when this is drained, we'll come back and split that. Okay. Let's see. Oh. You know what? I'm going to skip the oil draining. I decided in favor of just being really careful. And if it does come out, it's going to be so cold that the bench won't be impacted too bad because it'll all be too thick to flow off of the paper I'm working on. It's a really nice theory, don't you think, folks? Okay. I was about to say if we're lucky, there's some screws that are retaining that together, but since we're lucky, there's some screws retaining that together. Okay. This is pretty straightforward. It does look to me like at the bottom that old gasket was weeping like crazy. Okay. Alright. I want to hit this with ye old brake cleaner and get all of that out of there. Doesn't have to be perfect, but we need to be oil and silicone free on the gasket surface. There's no quicker way for a new gasket to leak. I actually think it'll leak quicker if you put silicone on there with it than if it just still had some oil. You can see there's sealing ridges there. See them? A little wore down at the bottom. Could be from gasket scraping, I don't know. We are going to put some sealant on the screws as we put them through. Now this, likewise, needs to be 100% clean. Now, there it is. That's your impulse for the automatic oiler right there. So as you're cleaning, be careful. If you blow a bunch of cleaner up in there, you're just going to fill your crankcase with it. I'm thinking it'll evaporate long before it's started, but just beware. That is a port into the engine. So, I'll just give this the old wipe down here. Now, threads are in that, and you see how there's oil caught in that hole right there? Hopefully it caught that. The camera caught that. That's where the gasket was leaking. Or at least that's where one of the places. Because that actually threads all the way through. So there was no reason for oil to be in there. And this side of the cover, the tank, doesn't have those sealing ridges on it. Notice that? So that's where it might be tempting to put sealant on there, but good evenly torqued gasket with sealer on it should be good enough. I guess we're going to find out. We'll do that first and then come back and do these other, I think. Am I going to regret that? Am I going to regret that, folks? I'm going to gamble that I'm not going to regret that. That hose has to install from here, so that manual pump should lift right off. I'm not going to regret that. Keep telling me that. And I'm going to keep telling me that. Okay, obviously I've got that 180 off. Beautiful. Alright, now since I set that down, a little more unevaporated solvent has dripped down because it is cold. And solvent doesn't evaporate nearly as quickly when it's below freezing. Why don't you use your brain? Dude. Okay. I shifted that around. I highly well, we're close. Okay. I'm going to use this as a guide. If I can get that to start, I know I've got at least one corner anchored. That start? Nope. Oh, come on, you miserable little puke. Well, this may be more fun than I thought. Alright. New plan. And the first part of the new plan is cleaning these bolts, screws. It's going to be a hassle. I don't want to have to take them out more times than necessary. So, how can I do this without disturbing the gasket? Well, that sure looks like I did at that time. least to my eyeball. Ooh, that felt, because it was. All right. All the rest of these are gonna, good Lord. That gets dried up here. All the rest of these are going to get a coating of Moto Seal. Well, I shouldn't say a coating, I should say a dab. And yes, the tip of this hardened. Yuck. Okay, that's enough to make a mess. And no, I am not intentionally attempting to make a mess. There's even a cutaway on this cylinder fin for a T-handle to get in here. Oh, I'm going a little twist farther on that one. Oop. Ah. That one's about done. Must have been some crap in the bottom of that screw head. That bolt didn't break. That's not what that was. It didn't strip. Have to be careful. Okay. Let's see if I was wrong. When it comes to replacing that gasket on that automatic oil pump. Alright, now I'm just assuming that there's something that's spring-loaded in here. Alright, this screw head, boy. It just barely clears the casting there. Probably would have been better to do this with that tank cover off. And there's something spring-loaded. Doesn't seem to be super spring-loaded though. Okay, standard piston assembly. Now, there's an O-ring right at the very tip there. Careful not to damage that. Okay, there we go. I can already tell you it was leaking around this. There's actually some corrosion on that cover. So we're going to do ourselves a favor. I'm going to clean that off. This feels like pot metal, so you don't want to go ape shit with it. That is a very well-worn, fairly soft bristle brush. That's why I didn't just tear that to smithereens. You just got a standard brand new coarse wheel on your grinder. Don't do what I just did, or you will probably ruin some parts. Okay, now I can't tell. Is there some gasket left there? Yes, there is. Gasket or corrosion, one or the other. Okay, so survey says, without a doubt, it's easier to do this with the tank cover off. So keep that in mind. Learn from my mistakes. Alright. Get our new gasket here. There's only one way for that to go in that makes sense. Whoopsie daisy. That didn't work so well. God, come on. Get in there. Alright.
Hi, Dad.
There.
You filming?
Yep. Start with this outside screw to get everything aligned. And even though it came out, until this thing starts and gets past the casting on the crankcase, I'm going to be a little bit worried. It's definitely not happy about that. But it does go. Okay. Hey now. Go down evenly. I don't need to crack this stupid cover. Okay. Good enough for who it's for, which would be me. Okay, let's go ahead and do the manual side. Now this shouldn't have anything spring-loaded under it because the spring-loaded piece is right there. But what it is likely to have is a little metal check valve. I want to make sure it stays where it, belongs. Screws really seem to be excessively long. And that assembly hasn't broken loose yet, so it may or may not have been leaking. Oh yes it is, never mind. Okay. Alright. So there is wrong, it's not metal, it's fiber. That's the check valve right there. So we're going to get that the heck out of the way and peel this gasket up. Alright, so nothing. I mean, there's oil all around it. I'm assuming that was leaking too. At this point, my assumption was everything was leaking. Okay. I think that makes the most sense. Yeah, booyah. There she is. And then we'll set the check valve back in there. And then we've got to set this thing down just right to avoid moving it. I think we did just that. Now, setting that screw back in place is not going to... Come on. There we go. Let's get this half cinch down. There's no possibility of something moving out of where it ought to be. Okay. This one's pretty much lined. Oop. Give me back my glove, numbskull. Okay, easy threading. To me, it looks like it's sitting flat, so I don't think I've messed up the check valve. I guess I could test. I can hear a little pulse over there, so I think it's working. I guess we'll find out. Okay. Wow, that's a lot of effort. No, I shouldn't say that. It's not a lot of effort, it's time consuming. This is why if you took this saw to a modern small engine repair, they would laugh you right out. Because if their labor rate is between $75 and $100 an hour, who is going to pay that? I'm sure a few people would, okay? But by and large, if you got quoted $100, even $200, because in reality, this is going to take a couple hours. I mean, all said and done, we'll see when we get, I'm assuming we're going to do 3 episodes here. So, even if you cut out the jibber jabber and just do the work, still a lot of time in this. And there's next to nobody left these days that's going to remember how to work on one of these. Not to say that a newbie mechanic, or even a guy who's in his 30s or 40s, couldn't learn, case in point. But if your bread and butter is newer saws that are significantly higher cost new, this isn't really going to be something that you're going to want to spend a hell of a lot of time on. It's not something your boss, or if you're the owner of the company, you're going to want to spend a lot of time on, unless you got a soft spot for them. That's where you hear things like, oh, there's no parts available, and you should just buy the new MS blah blah whatever. But if you want a top handle saw explicitly, those things are freaking expensive. I don't know what 200 series they're on now. I know it's not the 200T anymore for steel, but whatever version it is, those things are freaking expensive. And is it any better of a top handle saw than this? Spins faster. It is going to cut faster, just simply because of the RPMs. I don't know. I'm not an arborist. I suppose if I was, I'd probably buy them. Okay. I guess we ought to try reassembling this top handle. So we need to get the throttle rod back in the carburetor, which maybe I should have done before connecting that damn wire. I hope I'm not going to have to take steps backwards. Oh, come on, you. Can I get you under? Oh, poop. That's why I should have done it that way. Alright, can I cheat? Yeah. Okay, got lucky on that one. So now, what you've got to do, while preventing your manual oiler button from falling out, gonna hold it, whoop, dang it, hold it up there, pull your throttle trigger down so you can see to hook that bad mammer jammer in there, align your manual oiler rod into that hole, and then just don't breathe on it, and it'll be fine. We need our AV pads here, which have some debris on them still. This one is formed to the saw, meaning it's a little bit bent. And I think it must be forward, yeah, okay. Alright, let's test that. Something ain't right, because it is jammed. Did I not get it centered? Did I bend it? What is wrong? Something's not right. Oh, you know what? Neither do I. I think I might have fouled up. Maybe that isolator needs to go in on the other side of the rod. What the hell are we doing here, folks? Side's getting irritated. That may be it. Help if that would stay put. Surely not. That doesn't make any damn sense. Yeah, actually it does. Maybe I was holding this up too high. Alright. I think with the shape of this stupid rod, we need to get this flat portion underneath that fiber isolator. So, son of a gun. Okay. That's not fun. Trigger still works. Manual oiler depresses. Okay. That's not fun. In case you didn't hear me the first 13 times I said it. I think this must have been that. That's awful long. Oh, come on. Yep, that was that. Alright. Get this handle resecured. Maybe. I mean, why would you want the nut to start straight, right? This plate design, in theory, seems like a good idea because you can just take the top plate or the bottom plate off to service whatever on the engine, but man, it creates some alignment nightmares. Is that? Yeah, that's it. Oh. Well, shoot. We don't want to be doing this yet anyway. There's an isolator pad that's supposed to go in here. That's why the screw looked a little too long. Why I can rip apart a Super 2 or Super XL or actually a lot of home lights so stinking easily. Yet I get onto something like this that I've only done a few of and I become a bumbling idiot. Alright. Okay, that was the big thing. Keeping that working. Let's finish tightening this down. That ball end's about shot. But again, it's Harbor Freight. What did I expect? I've had that set for quite a few years. I can't piss and moan about it too terribly much. Okay. Should be the last time we have to put on our flywheel. I do want to check spark now. Let's make sure we're still in a good spot before I crank that down where it belongs. Get off of there. What? Alright, I think I need to clean this tester tool out. There's grease down there. It's causing it to arc too low, but we have spark, which is, of course, what we set out to get here. Whoop. Okay. I guess we could assemble it and test run it. I don't have all the parts yet. We'll have to come back, but let's see how far we can get on assembly. Let me grab those other parts, dry them off. We'll come back. Okay. The starter mounts to a couple of these on this bottom plate, so we're going to go ahead and mount it first. Now I can see that I have my condenser angled incorrectly because it's hitting that bottom plate. So let's see if I can move it. Well, that is interesting. I really have it angled incorrectly. Okay. Yeah, it's got a clock all the way in as far as it can go. That should be socket head screws. And we've got one more with a nut inside of that stinking air box, which we will go ahead now. Probably shouldn't forget to bring my spark plug wire over to the right side of the engine. That's a fairly important detail there. I was able to find just about all the parts that we need, but those are very much in transit at the moment. Proper air filter. We have the reed for the muffler. What else is on its way? There were a couple other things. Where's the... Oh, I put it away. Got a starter pulley coming, just in case. Just in case that one gives me any grief. It may not. And it may. I don't know. It's a little noisier than I care for. But the repair is holding at the moment. And God knows I've done enough silly stuff like that over the years to get things by. Alright, now that is a new plug, but I'm going to clean it out with a little brake clean. Because it was clearly not happy with the energy that it was getting. And yeah, that gap's okay. This is such an odd angle to get to here. Very little room for your fingers. Even though it's a pain in the butt, you always want to hand start those. Make sure they're threading in the right way before going at it with the ratchet. Because once it starts to cross thread, yeah, you're not going to be a happy camper. Let me just put it that way. Okay. Now this ought to slip basically right on and into place over that, and then I want to make sure, yeah, that's what I remembered, that that fuel hose just magically snaps into place on the carburetor. What we need to do is get the, whoa, no, you. Alright. We'll start at the top and work our way around. It's not the pulley that's jamming us up. Appears to be that thing. We're not far enough forward. And I don't know why. This does not want to go on. So I started at the front. Ah, dang it. Start at the front, see if we can coerce it from there. Oh, there it goes. There it goes. Almost. Yep, there it's going. That must be the force of the hose into the carburetor, I guess. Tell you what, we're going to put a screw in back here. I guess we'll put a little fuel in the tank and shake it up. See if we get a puddle of gas on the bench. I sure hope not. I sure hope not. That would upset me. Tell you what, I'll put one more screw in before shaking it. And the whole point of shaking is just to pressurize the tank. See what I mean? Something didn't work. God bless it. Man, oh man. Not only did it not work, that means now I have freaking fuel mitts all over everything I just cleaned. So you can imagine I'm pretty happy about that. Well, she'd already started leaking last time. Okay, I don't know how or why. I guess we roll with it. I guess we roll with it. Before we get too far along, I would like to make sure this all still aligns well. What the hell? What I heard pressure release in there, but I'm not sure that I liked it. Okay. Well, I'm not going to put oil in it yet. We'll do that on the next episode. I'm rethinking that. Maybe I want it to have some time to sit and see what kind of a puddle she makes. that's just water. Yes, that is just water. Okay, well, let's see if perhaps this thing will run any better than it did the last time, and we'll see if we got water anywhere in the intake system. Let's hope not. We'll choke it. I'm assuming that was cleaner? Still definitely something not right here. I didn't put that much fuel in here. We'll make sure that's not the issue. Well, that's amazing. I've got that low-speed jet open way too far. I'm going to reset these to where I think they should be, and we're going to try one more time and see where she's at. Truthfully, I don't know where our problem is at right now. I don't think it's that missing muffler reed. I don't think it's that stinking sensitive, but maybe it is. You guys in the... Well, no, how could it be? Because they used the Mini Mac style muffler on a lot of these too, and that doesn't have a reed, so that's not it. That's not it at all. There's an air leak somewhere. I think we could go through that MDC carburetor and make sure that it's not goober schlobbered. But I think that's enough for this video. We've made some progress. You can hear that by the simple fact that it will hold a rev now. It's got enough voltage going to the spark plug. That tilt is really messed up. enough voltage going to the spark plug now that it'll actually fire a full charge of fuel. And I'm going to assume that she won't leak oil all over the bench at this point. Bad news is we're going to get that starter back off, which means we're going to have to get that fuel hose to line up again. But I think that's where we need to go next. So I will find an MDC carburetor kit. And I may do a little digging around online and see how big of a pain it is to get a hold of some crankshaft seals. And I don't know if this style, man, that would be really upsetting if this style requires you to split the halves and you can't drive them in. Because we would basically have to take literally everything we just did all back apart again. That wouldn't be too cool. Let's hope that's not the case. So, we'll leave it there for today. Catch you guys in the next episode.